Is this better or is this better?
Go
What you
if you
guys
go
do?
back the other way, but I think your screen is locked, so it still shows you vertically, but just like this.
How about that?
There we go. Yeah,
Okay.
that'll do it.
Okay. Now I gotta
Is
find
there
something
a
to support.
way? Is it just my settings? Is it because I'm on my phone, or is there a way to have all three of us showing at once? Because I felt like that was how it was when we did with
With Haley and
Emily and
Emily.
Haley. Yeah.
I'm
Um,
I'm with you, Whitney.
do you
Participants,
have
maybe.
I see, I did
I
it. I figured it out. It was
okay,
just
Oh,
really
what
nice.
is it?
I oh there it's if I say I figured it out, it sounds really smart instead of the reality of it, which is that
I did
I
it on
swiped
accident.
one to the right and
Oh, oh, I see it. Okay,
yep, I was
perfect.
Yeah.
No, you
overcomplicating
you you
things.
are very smart. Quit doubting yourself. Thank you.
Are you
Because you helped me figure it out too. You're like, I swipe to the right, and my Zoomer brain gets that. So thank you.
I'm glad.
Zoomer, get it? Because Gen Z, but also on Zoom. It's funny.
Boo!
Get off the stage. Get new
Get the hook.
material. Yeah.
I'm
Jack,
clapping this person on. I don't care who they are.
are
They're
you
doing
wearing
great.
pitchfork earrings?
Yes.
That's good. That's real good. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Great work.
Thank you. Certainly trying my best. And Apple AirPods
Mhm.
or whatever. I
He's
don't
gone cordless.
know.
He's flexing on us with our corded earbuds.
With like
So yeah.
my credit
Porsche
card,
shaming.
I get points on my credit card, and like of the few options I have to spend my points on, AirPods are one of them. So
Huh,
like every year, I get the new generation of AirPods or
might
whatever.
as well.
Wait,
Yeah, because why
they
not?
you can only spend your points on certain things? You can't just use your points on everything?
Correct.
No, only AirPods.
That's so stupid.
AirPods or airplanes.
If
That's
you
like
go
the
to
two options. Like I can use my points to travel, or I can use them to get new AirPods, and that's like pretty much all the viable like good options. The rest of them are like, wow, you want a pair of socks from like Target? And I'm like,
one pair
okay.
of socks,
Well, I mean,
how
it's not
it's
very
like
many points, but
one
you know what
pair
I
of
mean?
socks to last you for the rest of your life if they cost the amount of AirPods. One pair
No,
of
no, no.
socks.
I'm just saying those are the two things that are like most worth the points.
Right, right.
But I like your theory. Thank you.
It's like one pair of socks, but they're really nice.
They're so
If,
nice.
yeah, if it was an option, that's what Neil would go for. Famously, everyone knows this.
Well, yeah,
He
I
loves
just
wool
think about
socks. He
us.
loves Bomba socks.
I think
Pretty
when we
much
like took that hike
exclusively.
and we were standing on like that rocky outcropping on the butte we always go up, you know,
Mhm.
and like that was what we talked about was like Neil likes socks.
Yeah. It's
That's where
such a
his money goes.
yeah. It's a small part of his personality, but his personality is so big that even that small part is like pretty significant.
I feel
I
like you
wish I
need
had
more
your
than just
hair.
one pair of socks. Oh, thank you.
I mean, if you wash them every day, you technically only need one pair of socks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but who
or
has that kind of
if you
time?
just don't wear them that much.
That's true, but if you wear socks every day, I'd want to have nice
If
pair
you
of
don't wear
socks
socks
every
every day,
day.
stop wearing socks every day. Problem
Yeah.
solved.
Yeah.
Free the feet. Free the feet.
We have actually said that on
We
this
should
channel
pick it.
before.
Yeah, but it's only in
We
theory, never in practice,
yeah,
because we're not going
our
to show feet for
recognition
free.
that people stop being weird freaks about feet.
Yeah.
Put them dogs away.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I tell you
It's
guys
like
something
until society is
horrible?
ready to change, we're wearing socks.
Yeah.
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 Tell us something horrible.
Yeah, my
I
cousin
guess I'm
Seth.
society because I'm not going to change it. I love my socks and I'm never going to take them off.
No, that's fine. That's your
Yeah.
personal choice. But if people look at your feet and are like genuinely a little bit too interested, you know?
Jack, I thought you were gonna say I'm a part of society because I'm such a freak about feet. I
Yeah,
thought you were gonna
I was
admit that
afraid.
on camera.
I
I was
was
like,
worried. I was like,
oh
we gotta end
boy.
this call now.
Yeah, I gotta go actually. So my cousin Seth, he said once, apropos of nothing, He said, wouldn't it be kind of weird if one person put peanut butter on their foot and then another person put jelly on their foot and then they held toes together?
I hate him.
He just
And to
said
your
that.
cousin, I propose this. You put peanut butter on your foot and you show it to your dog.
Why? What's happening?
I've just heard that before. Please don't crucify me. Oh my goodness.
Weird stuff happening here today.
I
don't know about this.
No, but
It's a
Like-
weird energy.
yeah.
No.
Oh.
What is she
Just
saying?
one hit after another.
This call is
Can't
going to be
recover.
like, who survives to the end of the recording? That's the
You're
challenge
welcome.
for today.
I have not seen very much of your podcast.
That means you've seen some of it. You've seen the first episode.
Some of
That's
it?
crazy.
I've seen-
That's incredible.
An introduction to this channel.
Yeah, this thing is that that's the best one, to be honest.
It's just been downhill from there.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
press X to doubt.
Majority of people, 8 billion people have not seen any of it at all. So the fact that you've seen even the short, 4.5 minute video explaining that we're disastrous human beings, it's, you're in
Okay,
0.1% of the population.
I like this. I'll take it.
Yeah.
With that being said, I understand your little STEM. You got to find a new acronym every time, right? That's kind of shtick.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that's
Okay.
the shtick.
Okay.
We've
That's
done it to
pretty much
ourselves.
The entire shtick.
Yep.
Well, I always look and I always see when you guys upload shit, but pardon my French, but I'm really bad at podcasts in general. Because when people are
Mhm.
just talking to me, nothing puts me to sleep quicker.
Perfect. Oh, if you're up too late, you're like, man, I gotta hit the hay.
This
We
is
could get a
why
bunch
I'm
of
addicted
views
to
this
caffeine.
way.
These two losers. That's
Yeah.
probably how we get most of our views is from me doing that same thing.
Yeah. Well, it's that, or I was looking at our stats the other day. The thing is, I don't know if you know this, Jack, 65+% of our viewers live in India. And so when we upload at noon our time, but then it ends up being midnight for them. So they never get to watch it right when it comes out. They have to scroll through to find it. So I imagine that's if anybody is watching it as it's uploaded, it's because they're trying to get to bed as well. I'm pretty sure. I don't think anybody listens to the end.
Okay, so it's been a while, but I understand what you mean because I think it's the way the algorithm works. I don't think it's anything you guys are doing. I think it's the way the algorithm works. It's because
Yeah.
back when I was uploading music on Spotify and I was still logged into that account, we were getting most of our listeners from South America, and I was like, we don't have any friends from down there.
You do now, baby.
Yeah.
Hey. No, but our thing
To be
it's
fair, I do think it's a
it's
little
not
bit
algorithmic.
our-
It's definitely our thing.
because we do watch so many Indian movies.
Yeah. Well, we
It
watch
started out with
a
just
few
a few.
that we like, but then it brought in that audience who were like, "Oh, let's recommend this movie." And also, they never recommend 1 or 2 movies at a time. We'll get comments that are you have to scroll for a minute. And they're recommending every movie they've ever seen.
S is
One of
not
my
for
very
solo.
favorite
S
movies.
is for skewing your viewers. Thank you.
Jack,
One of
have you
your
ever heard of
favorite
the
movies.
movie Iga?
No.
Iga. It's
Iga,
called
Iga.
Iga, which means fly, because it's about a man who was murdered and then turns into a fly.
He reincarnates as a fly, and then he, as
Okay.
a
To
fly,
avenge
avenges
My
his
grandparents.
murder. It's
as a
awesome.
fly. There's
Jack,
a
it's
scene where
the
a
best
fly
movie ever.
writes on a windshield of a smashed car,
Okay,
that
why
he
didn't you have me watch
caused.
that one?
and he says, "I'm going to kill you." To the man, he writes it.
He scrapes it into the
window.
windshield as a fly.
It's
It's awesome, dude.
so good.
There's
Oh,
a
man.
The best
wizard in
movie.
it, and it barely matters.
Yeah.
They introduce a wizard. He has a
a
line, and then
wizard.
they leave him. And then they bring him back later on, and he has a whole scene. And you're like, maybe the wizard is going to be part of the movie, but then he isn't. They kill him in
No.
a house fire. He doesn't matter.
In a house fire.
So meaningless. It's the funniest
So,
movie
is
you've
this
ever
awesome.
watched.
It's so fun.
It's so good.
Okay, you got to answer me this. Was this something one of your viewers recommended?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
but I also already knew somebody who had recommended it to me, and so it was on my list, but then like a commenter suggested it, so I moved it to the top of the list. It's so good.
It's so good. Yeah.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry you had
So
to watch
I
Solo. To be fair, you volunteered for that.
Yeah,
If
you
we
didn't
were to
have
ask
to.
you
You
to
could have
watch
just
a
been like,
movie.
here's what I vaguely remember, and we'd be like, same, you know?
I don't regret watching it again. That's my thing.
Oh,
You guys
that's
hate
good.
this movie. Y'all are like
Yes.
with this movie, get it out the door. Like I'm like, y'all are wrong.
Well, explain yourself.
How wrong?
Because
Because I
Whitney
feel like
lives.
having a fairly neutral party is good. Having an overly positive party, we really might have to end the call early.
Okay. How about not overly, but mostly.
I think
What's
that's
mostly?
valid.
Is it like 51%?
Before I say anything, I have to understand how you guys rate things. Like,
Okay.
does a 60 mean it was a bad movie but you still enjoyed it? Or does 60 mean it was like a good movie?
Totally arbitrary. That changes
Yeah.
every single time.
It doesn't matter. However you decide to
'Cause
rate it, that's how we're gonna rate it for this episode.
Yeah.
So it
Mhm.
doesn't
okay,
matter.
okay. I would give it like a 77%.
Okay, it's like a C.
Yeah. And like of course it's not the most exciting best movie that ever came out, but I
Of
don't
course
think it
not.
deserves as much
That's
hate as it
Ega.
has gotten. I'm
And
gonna have to watch
can
this
I,
Ego movie. You got to send me a link to it.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude. It's so funny.
it'll change your life.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
Jack, are
really
you?
like the next time I have a movie night, I genuinely am like, everybody needs to see Ega. I've been thinking about it for weeks.
Me
It just keeps
too.
coming up. Yeah.
Me too. Yes, I keep
It's
talking
just
about
the
it at work.
it's the most wonderful time of the year when you remember the movie Ega and then you can't stop thinking about it.
I have been trying to get my family to watch it with me literally since we saw it
I know.
way back in like what, April?
Yeah, something like
And
that was
they've
a long
never
time
gone
ago.
for it. Yeah. The good news is I can convince them to watch other movies on my list. Like that's how I got
Okay,
them to watch Nope with me.
consider me family. We're watching it soon.
Yes.
Yay! Can you do the thing where you FaceTime me while you watch it and I catch like a little tiny bit of the movie as we go?
Anyways, Solo.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I have a
Okay.
To
question
get us
for
back on
you.
top.
How are you like a big Star Wars fan in general? Like, do you care a lot about the other movies?
I enjoy them. I'm not someone who's like, oh my god, this is the greatest piece of like
Mhm.
fantasy that's ever been
Right,
made.
like you
know what
don't
I
know
mean?
all the like
Uh-huh.
lore from the books. You just know like you like the
No,
movies. Yeah.
I
So
just
you're
enjoy the
normal.
movies,
Yeah.
except for the new three that came out like a couple of years ago, like
Fair.
of the
Obviously, because
trilogy.
you apparently have a brain.
Yeah. Um,
Thank you.
so the question I'm following Whitney's line of thought, which I was also going to ask. The next question would be, is Solo good for a movie or for a Star Wars movie?
Both.
Like, would you like it out? You would like it outside of Star Wars if it was like a different story with different
I
characters,
think
but the same story?
I think I would like it better.
Yeah, okay. That's the right answer.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. We're all on the same page. We
You've
Okay,
are.
so then
you
why
passed the
don't you
test.
guys like the movie better then?
Because it's labeled as a Star Wars story,
It's a
but it
Star Wars
completely
movie.
erases the characterization of these people originally.
Mhm.
Like Han Solo doesn't make sense to be how he is in the originals, but then also be how he is in Solo. It's like two different people.
Yes.
So if it was a
Explain yourself,
separate
America.
story, if it was a
Where
separate
Arkansas
story and it
and
wasn't Han Solo,
Kansas?
it'd be fine.
I said, America, explain yourself. Why is it Arkansas and
America.
Arkansas?
Yeah. I agree
It
with
was like-
Olivia. I think that the great flaw, one of the biggest flaws in the movie, because looking at reviews, they are mostly positive. People enjoy it because it is just generally kind of the good base movie. It's a really basic structure, which is not a bad thing. That's what
Right,
the
it's a
original Star
structure
Wars
that
movie
works.
was.
Yeah.
It's a basic structure. It's the hero's journey. We've seen it done successfully time and time again. And I agree. Like, I think if it had not been a Star Wars movie, I would have liked it a lot more.
Mhm.
My biggest problem was because they tried to give a backstory to a character whose main mythology was in the fun of not knowing all of his backstory. And in creating his backstory, they crammed so much of it into the one tiny
Yeah.
little 3-week
It's a
span.
lot for one story.
Yeah, he got the Falcon, he got Chewie, he got his gun, he got he did the Kessel Run all in the 3 week span that the movie takes place in. It's like, hey, audience, you remember this? You remember this?
Yeah, it's like a
It's
lot
like,
of
yeah, I do. That's
callbacks,
all of his. That's
but it would be
everything.
nice to know like just the one. Like if the whole thing was just the story of how he got the Falcon or how he met Chewie or how he did
Yes.
this, right? Focus
Yeah.
on that instead of cramming it all in and like it's trying to convince us that this is actually Han Solo by
Yeah,
putting everything
okay.
that we know about him into the movie.
Okay, I can get behind that. But
And honestly, it's awesome that you like it.
Okay, well,
so
let me ask you
sincerely,
this.
it's fun to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I gave you guys a 77. What are your numbers each?
Ooh, I have not seen it since 2018.
I watched half of it today.
Nice.
Okay,
I listened
okay.
to the soundtrack and there was one that I liked.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a Star Wars movie, it's like pretty low, but as a separate movie, I can imagine it being pretty good.
The other thing about the movie is, especially watching it today, there were a lot of elements that I really liked. Like, I mean, first of all, Lando,
Lando. Okay.
Donald Glover.
That's what I'm
come
saying.
on.
Like,
The only
they did
reason-
cram
okay,
a lot
come
into
on.
this movie. My turn, sorry.
Yeah.
They crammed a lot into this movie, but like, they did it well with how they crammed.
With how they cram, like if
Like-
you're gonna cram it, you might as well do it this way.
You might as well
Yeah.
cram Donald Glover
Like,
in there.
Yeah.
That's why it's close to an 80, right? Like, it's close to being like a movie I'd recommend to everyone, but at the same time, it's got its little flaws here and there, right? Like,
Mhm.
who was this random droid L33 or whatever her name was? Like, why should I care about her? I don't. But they spent so much of the time on the movie on her, right?
See, yeah,
Mhm.
I really liked her. She was
I
like,
like-
she was like droid rights. I want equal rights. And then it's the most awful, horrible, heartbreaking ending because she wants to be an individual. She wants equal rights for droids to be on equal standing with everybody else. And then she has this horrible, horrible ending where she's forced to be the Falcon's navigation system forever. What a horrible, horrible thing for that.
I don't
That's
think
like-
that's necessarily a bad ending by itself, but I think if they'd done something else with it, it would have been better, right?
If they had done one thing or the other, that would have been
Mhm.
fine. If it had been a character, because I remember reading a book when I was a kid where that was the thing, that was a big plot point where a droid main character ended up becoming the ship that the characters used. And I loved it. And they loved it because it was freedom for them, you know?
Mhm.
But the way that it's framed in this story is L3 has so much passion and so much, so many goals, and the desire for this freedom and this equal rights for droids as a whole. And it just feels like you're going to be shoved into this tiny little hole and you're never going to be able to talk again
Mhm.
or like have and you're not an individual anymore. You're just an object. That's where it feels so sad. It's so
Yeah.
sad. They turned her into an
See,
object and they never
I
reference it
didn't.
again.
I didn't see that part. I didn't. True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Like,
And it
I
didn't
really
have
liked
to-
her.
And it didn't have to be that way. Like in the originals,
No.
in the Millennium Falcon, you're not thinking like, oh, this is like a
L33.
droid soul that has been like trapped in a prison
it's
forever.
just
Like,
a ship.
yeah, they can
Yeah.
just fly it themselves mechanically. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm.
yeah,
And then
that is super
calls
weird.
into question Han Solo's talent as a pilot. Is he actually a talented pilot? Or is it just her doing all the work?
Right, and getting none of the credit because she can't talk anymore.
Yeah, which
Well,
yeah.
like
Okay. Well, so
That's freaky.
I'm with you, and yes and no. On the Han Solo part, no. On the L33 part, yes. Like, she got dumbed down to a navigation system from this whole like character that had a potential to have personality and everything. But like Han, the whole movie was like, I'm gonna be a great pilot. And they kept proving that point over and over again, all his little tricks and everything. Even like at the beginning, he didn't land them, but at the end, he was able to do them, and he did them well without like super like destroying stuff. You know what I mean?
right, exactly. So they show
Without
that he is a
super
capable
destroying
pilot
stuff.
on his own.
But this movie is
So-
not about L33. This movie is about Han Solo, and they did a good job of that.
Of Han Solo, but not of L33.
Yes.
okay.
Why did they include L33? I don't
Because
know.
she's-
That was stupid.
About
She's more
her.
interesting. They could have just made a movie about her, and it
Every
would be
side
more
character
interesting.
Is more interesting.
I
Woody
agree.
Harrelson is in this
Because
movie.
you're
agree.
thinking
Woody
about
Harrelson.
morality instead of
Yes,
thinking
yes.
about Han Solo's backstory that it was more fun to not know. And also doesn't make
Yes.
sense, like the romantic element of it didn't make sense because in the originals he's like he's not interested in love in any way. He's just a smuggler. You know what I mean? He's like business oriented. He's not thinking about it.
I
And
think
that's why he's
what they
so
were
blown
trying to
away
like,
when he meets Leia, right? So then it's like,
I
why, if he
yeah,
had this like great person that he was into before, it doesn't hit as hard that he loves Leia. She's supposed to
Yeah,
be like
he
the only
very
one, you
much
know?
has the vibe that he's never fallen in love before. That
Right.
it totally caught him off
And
guard,
he
and he
does
doesn't
not
know
want
how
to.
to handle it. So
Yeah.
he's just kind of
I
mean to her,
Yeah.
yes
and he
and
pulls
no.
her
He's pulling
pigtails
her
a little
pigtails
bit.
in the playground. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes and no.
no,
I agree.
No. It's either yes or no. It can't be
it's
both.
not
It's
both.
impossible to
Life
be
is
both.
not black and white.
Yeah.
It is
But a
gray.
It
thing
is
can't
in the
be.
Star Wars universe. It literally is.
It
That's
literally
how
is.
it's framed.
That's true.
I think that's what they were trying to like do, but they failed at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is another thing.
They
Because like
did.
clearly
Correct.
they
They
were like
did.
Breaking
at
its own
first
rules. We've set up.
at first they
This
were
is
like, let's prove these people can like these people can be in love with droids and droids can be in love with people. And they're like, oh, the droid dies, and we're not gonna do anything about this whole entire love segment we were setting up. They just dropped it.
with
They
Han and
dropped
Kira.
the ball. No, with Han and L33. Excuse me, not Han. Lando and
Lando?
L33.
Hmm.
Yes. Because he was in love with this droid. He was like, "Oh yeah, she's my girl" or whatever. Like for like the whole time he was introduced until she died, and then she was nothing. And he wasn't all that devastated. Like he was like, "She died," and then the rest of the movie happened.
Right,
You
but
know
we were
what I
just talking
mean?
about we
Like,
were just talking about Han and Kira.
okay,
I agree
I
about
thought we were
that.
still talking about the droid. My bad.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh,
My bad.
Okay.
I
see
had
what's
moved on
happened.
to Han. I see what you
I
mean
also,
though.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I see.
I did not
It is
catch
weird
how
that
you
he's
guys
just
This
like
did
was,
that.
whatever.
yeah, no, and that's another thing too, is like you have so much potential for good story here. Like Lando
Mhm.
and L3, that was fun. I really liked their dynamic. I liked that kind of flirty, and I liked that L3 is like kind of not, well, kind of not into it, but like she's sticking around. She's good at her job, and like
Mhm.
I
Well,
really
because
liked her.
I
I
feel like
liked him.
that's
I liked
in
their
line
dynamic.
with Lando's character, right? Where he will flirt with
Yeah.
anything that moves. Like
Anything that moves.
that's
Yeah.
like his
Mhm.
favoriteest hobby is like being bisexual, you know what I mean? Like he's
Yeah.
got it.
And like then you have
So
the nugget
fair.
of, well, he actually meant it, like he
Mhm.
really did lose somebody that he cared about deeply.
Yeah.
And that could be fun to explore.
Yeah, well, it could have been a much heavier thing if they had focused more. Again, if it wasn't Han's movie,
Right.
if they just cut
Because
out his
Fair.
weird romance thing, focus on the droid and Lando, and then
Yeah.
that would be good because we would get to watch Donald Glover more.
Yeah.
That's the
because
only
that
thing
was
that
another
gave this
flaw in the
movie any
Yes.
points
was
in my
that there
mind.
was not enough Donald Glover.
When I watched it in
Oh.
2018, the only reason it would have had even a 20% is because he was in this movie.
Yeah, you get a 20% for Donald Glover, 20% for Woody Harrelson.
Mm. But
I
then
love
that's
him.
40%.
And that's too
So,
much. And so you have
That's
to
too
combine
much.
them.
Yeah.
It's just 20% across the board.
Yeah.
I'm really good at math. That's the problem with Han's character, is because for me anyway, when I watch the original trilogy, I get the vibe of this guy has never really cared about anything.
Right.
He's a smuggler. He cares about
You
Saving
make
his
a fair
own
point
skin.
with that.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I
and
feel
getting,
like that's kind of what this movie tried to do. Okay, you're winning me over here.
well,
but this,
exactly,
like,
because they did
See,
it in
because
this
it's
movie
like
like
the
tried
more
to do
you
it,
think
but it
about it,
failed
the
to
more
do
you
it.
realize all
You
the ways that
can't-
it failed. It's
you
fun,
can't do
but there's
it
no substance.
first.
It doesn't make sense in the story.
Exactly. The whole thing about having Han start out in A New Hope as a selfish smuggler who only cares about Han, who's never cared about anything bigger than himself, especially not a rebellion, and especially not a princess who's, why is my heart is going
But
like
like,
crazy when I'm around her. That's so most like, ooh,
That's
gross,
so
but I'm gonna
weird, yeah.
keep being around her. And
they also did
but
they
then
did lay
you
the
can't-
groundwork for that. Like they
no,
were
they
like,
didn't.
yes, they
did
did.
that.
At the end of the
No,
movie with
they did that.
yes, they did. At the end of the
They
movie,
made Han selfish, and then they made him a nice guy at the end of it. But then we reset with him being selfish at the start of A New Hope. You can't do that. You
No.
can't do character development so far into the future. Like, no, he ended up being like a good person, and like,
no,
like,
he
Right,
here
so
we
then
go,
it's like,
like,
why did
no!
that change?
yeah,
no, he wasn't
why-
convinced at the end of the movie. Like he did all that stuff, and he was still like they invited him to be part of the new like the rebellion and everything, and then he was still like, not for me, guys. He's like, I'm
Yeah.
just here to live my life because I'm doing what I'm doing. And like they
But I
did,
think
yes,
that
say that, but I agree they didn't. Again, they failed to prove the point.
yeah, I think in the beginning,
Yeah.
like of the originals, he doesn't seem like the guy who ever would have even been offered that. Like he's never worked with
Yes.
anybody, right?
He's never gotten close enough. He's only worked
He's
in the
friends with
periphery.
Chewie and Lando, and he's
But
rocky
that's
with
part of the
Lando, you
Star
know?
Wars
He's rocky with
charm.
Lando at
Like,
best.
okay, listen to me here. This is part of the Star Wars charm, and like this is gonna be a big statement here, Kay.
Oh
A
my
lot
gosh,
of
okay.
anime, the
Okay,
character all of a sudden has all this renown and power after they do one thing.
true.
Star Wars has the same fault. Yet Star Wars is viewed as one of the greatest movies of all time. So I don't think Solo as a Star Wars movie is bad either. However, I think as a movie now, I do think it's worse than I thought it was at the beginning of this conversation.
But only because of the Star Wars elements that it did badly. As a movie on its own, it has
It could have been fine.
fewer flaws.
Yeah.
Like genuinely,
Yes.
very few
Okay,
flaws
yes.
as a movie on its own. Its flaws come from it being the Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
The problem
and
with the character development
not
comes
it just
from
being a Star
the
Wars
main
movie,
character
but it
being Han Solo.
yeah, it being from a Han Solo movie. We already know that
Yeah.
he's disconnected and his growth happens through the original trilogy. So in this movie, if you could have the exact same story, but just with a different main character, it would make a lot more sense.
This is why Rogue One is so good. 'Cause
Exactly!
Rogue One is
Yes.
one of the, if
Jack,
not the best Star Wars movie, it is the best.
Exactly!
let's go. This is something we can all agree on. Rogue One
Okay,
is
good.
the best Star Wars
Let's
movie.
go!
I'm enjoying this
done.
conversation. Thank you.
I think this is the main difference between Rogue One and Solo, a Star Wars story, is because Rogue One takes like an eyedropper from that one little sentence at the start of A New Hope that no one was really asking questions about. Like a bunch of rebels got the plans, but someone saw a story there. Someone was like, well, how and why? Like, how could there have been such an obvious flaw in the design system? They created a really interesting, simple, but a complex story that makes sense within the rules of this universe that has been created. And that is I am huge about suspension of disbelief. I'm always telling people to do that. My problem comes when the movie or the series breaks its own rules that it is set up with no reason. And that's what
Yeah.
Solo does, is because they're not consistent with their characters. You have set this character up to be this way, and you're telling me suddenly that he's been this other way all along with no evidence whatsoever to support that.
Mhm.
But and that's how the whole movie feels, is instead of an eyedropper pulling out this tiny little nugget of an idea into this huge grand thing, it's like they condense this huge big grand thing, the mythology of Han Solo, into an eyedropper. They condensed it down into something way too small to
Like,
fit
why would it
what
take
the
him only
original-
a month to become the legendary figure of Han Solo?
Yeah.
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 Fair enough. But
Yeah.
this
See,
is
and the thing
not
is, like,
Han
you come
Solo,
into it
his
thinking,
story.
this is a
Solo,
good-
a Star Wars story.
right.
Right.
So then
So
why are they
you-
trying to fit everything of his life into one story?
Fair point. Yes. That's what I was gonna kind of get at. So good job summing it up for me before I even said it. Thank you.
And Rogue One, the huge thing about it that I really liked is because it feels like it's expanding on this universe that we haven't really seen, that we have seen before and that we love. So we all know Star Wars, we all love Star Wars, and there are a few cameos from characters that we already know, but most of it, the whole focus is on characters that we have never seen before. There's not a Skywalker in it, and there's not a Jedi in it. That's awesome. Show me, this is a whole universe. Show me that. I
Yeah.
wanna
Okay,
see
let
it.
me
Yeah.
let
And
me
that's
ask you
part of
this
the-
though.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
The new trilogy, can we all agree that they are all worse than this movie?
Yes.
I think yes.
well,
Definitely
okay.
8 and 9.
Yeah.
8 and 9, yes. 7 was okay.
7 was
I still
okay.
think it was worse
7 was
than this
okay,
one.
but they took it this direction instead of this direction. You know?
I think
With
I
8
think
and 9.
7 had some. I think the problem with 8 and 9
Solo
was the
was like,
problems
do
that
this
set
thing all
up
the
in
time.
7.
back to what you're saying about like building on this universe and not having everything be about these characters. What was great about Seven is that it's introducing these new characters and we don't know who they are and they don't seem to have any connection to Skywalkers and whatever, right? So it could have been
Yeah.
a great new story. And then like Kylo Ren is the tie to the original because he's Han and Leia's kid, and that's all we need. We're like, this is his kid, and here's these new people, right? But then it ended up, they just kept bringing characters back. They're like, we need Luke back. We need Palpatine back.
We need Lando
I'm
back.
gonna end the call.
Hello? That's so stupid. Bringing Lando back is fine because he's the best side character.
Oh,
Bringing Palpatine
Leia
back
has the
is the
Force.
stupidest thing in the world.
no, the scene that
Han
turned
and
me
Leia
off
aren't
from the
still
entire
together?
like
I
trilogy-
know!
I don't believe you.
Because the whole
The scene
thing
that
of
turned me
his
off, though-
character, they keep like retconning Han's character. In the original, he's cynical and snide and doesn't love anybody, and at the end he changes and he finds love in Leia, right? And then in Solo, they're like, oh, actually he had love before. And then in the new ones, they're like, oh, actually he's not in love anymore. Why?
Well,
Just
they
tell
did the
me you
same
don't
thing
know what to
Luke's
do with
character,
this
like,
character.
Don't
Luke
even
was
talk
like,
about
hey.
Luke. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then they ruined his whole character arc. They're like, oh yeah, Palpatine's back.
Right.
Yeah.
Not to
Like,
mention
why can't we
Rey
create a
and Finn?
new big bad instead of having to just bring back the same bad guy from
Same
before?
old one. What about
It's a
Snoke?
whole galaxy, and there's
Andy
one bad
Serkis
guy.
was Snoke. What is going on? Why are
And
we
he was the
not
same
why are
original
we
bad
not doing more
guy.
with this?
Yeah, exactly. And he was the same. We're off topic, but nevertheless, Star Wars has had problems.
We're still Star Wars, so we're doing pretty well.
There's
See,
no.
this is the funny thing is people. The
This is
only
way
people that
more
really
on topic
hate Star Wars
than we usually are.
Yeah, yeah,
You're welcome.
yeah. You can't really hate Star Wars unless you love Star Wars,
Yeah.
and that's where it gets hard.
People who aren't a
Is-
fan of Star
yeah.
Wars would not care about any of this conversation. They're like, I never saw Solo.
No.
I thought the new trilogy were fine, whatever. But if you like Star
Yeah.
Wars just enough to actually care about what they do with the characters, it pisses you off constantly.
It's
like,
devastating.
what
It's
are you
devastating.
doing?
It really
It's really
does.
upsetting. Yeah. And I do think, honestly, I'm going to maybe say something a little controversial here. I stand by it. I don't mind 8.
No.
I think
No, no.
listen. No. 8
I'm
got-
not-
We
Okay,
heard you
I
out
will
saying that
listen.
Solo is a 77%.
no, you-
We can hear
now
her
you have
out
to listen to
on
me.
episode 8.
I said I will listen, but you've got me there. Okay.
Okay, I think that 7, I think that it is a fun movie on its own, and I think it has
No.
very rickety legs to stand on.
Mhm.
You cannot
Yes.
build anything on 7 because this is the main problem. No one had an idea about where the story was going. No one had an idea.
The only idea
they
was
moved from director
this
to
is a
director.
franchise.
Yeah.
Not
we're just
this
gonna-
is a universe that we need to
No,
tell a story.
Exactly. No
Yeah.
one had any consistency between the stories. And so Ryan Johnson got it from J.J. Abrams, who is not a Star Wars fan, by the way. He doesn't like the original movies. He just got the job because he did such a good job bringing Star Trek into the popular culture like it wasn't already. He's like, I
Yeah.
wanted to make this movie for people who don't like Star Trek. Why would you make a Star Trek movie for people who don't like Star Trek when Star Trek people are the reason
Yeah,
you're
they
making the
care.
movie in the first
And
place?
Star Trek is like the original like big fandom
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
TV and movies, right? So it like why ignore all of these people that have set up the culture of fandom and be like, no, we're gonna make it for people who don't care. Like if they don't care, they're not gonna watch it anyway.
Exactly. And the
reminds
people who
me-
do care aren't going to like it.
Exactly. It's reminiscent to me of like when people there's a thing these days where people make movies that are musicals but they don't advertise them as musicals. People who like
Oh
musicals
my
won't watch them,
gosh.
and people who don't like musicals will be mad that you made them watch a musical.
You tricked them into watching a musical.
Just be honest, and then
Just
people whoever
embrace it.
likes it.
Whoever likes it, yes. But there's always a way to proceed forward from what you've done before. Right?
no,
So like
no.
we're
I
yes.
truly believe. No, they didn't.
No.
They didn't give him any room in 7. They truly didn't because again, they had no overarching plot, and JJ set up all of these mysteries that Ryan had to come up with answers for.
Mhm.
Ryan Johnson
Okay.
had to scramble for answers with, oh, who's the mystery behind Rey? Who's Snoke? Who's the big bad? Like all of these things that
Right.
really didn't have to be set up in the first place. JJ copy and pasted A New Hope.
And
it
just
was good,
replaced
it
the
was
names.
nostalgia bait. And
Yeah.
you could have gone. I think that The Force Awakens was a really good first draft for what 7 should
But it
have
should
been.
not have come
It
out
should not have.
in that
it
way.
shouldn't have been the final product, because
Yeah.
then where do you go from there? Nowhere good.
I still
Nowhere
agree
with
you.
perfect.
But number 8, they still could have gone a different direction. There is so many.
But then they didn't.
Yes, they didn't. I agree.
So it like
I completely
ruins
agree.
it.
8,
It ruins it in
8
retrospect.
is the worst. 8 is the worst of the entire franchise, like hands down, no question.
No, it is not.
Solo's the
8
worst
and
of the
9.
entire
Somehow
franchise.
Palpatine
No.
returns. What? That's not an
Wait.
8. Are you insane?
That's in 9.
That's an
That's a 9.
9.
Yeah.
Okay. Still,
It's like
8
that's
was
what
the
I meant.
second worst. 8 is the second worst. 9 is the worst. I haven't watched those 2 since they came out because they were that bad.
No, because
They're
why would you?
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing
So
is, I truly
I
think The
can't
Last
tell you
Jedi.
which one they like when
just-
Palpatine returns.
It doesn't matter.
Ugh.
What you have to know
No.
is that 7 is a copy and paste of episode 4, except they took out everything that was new about it. Because
Agreed.
it's not new anymore because it's a copy and paste. And then
Yeah.
8, they tried to go somewhere but couldn't because the person who passed the ball to them fumbled. And then 9, they were like, I'm out of ideas. We just have to go back to the prequel trilogy
I don't think the
to find
person
a
who
bad
passed
guy.
the ball fumbled. I think the person who caught the ball fumbled.
No, J.J. Abrams fumbled the
I
damn
think
ball.
J.J.
He did
Abrams
such a bad
threw
job,
a
but he covered
different
it
ball
up
than Ryan Johnson
with
caught.
sugar and paste.
They're
and
not
he
even
made it
playing the
look
same
good.
game.
He made it look good. 7 is not a good movie. It's a fun movie. It's not a good Star Wars movie. He
Mhm.
set Ryan Johnson up for because he didn't have any substance to that movie. He could have had such a wonderful story. We could have had Finn be a stormtrooper who redeems himself, who decides he doesn't want this life. We could have had Rey, who's kind of a force sensitive, scavenger who's got to
Mhm.
carve this life out for herself.
She could be a
We could have had these
parallel
base
of a
elements,
Skywalker without having to
parallel
have any
without-
ties.
Exactly. And
Yeah, no force.
like-
She don't need the force.
Yeah, or if she does, she
If
doesn't
she
have to be
does-
already connected to Jedi somehow. It can be like a new thing. She's
on her own.
discovering that she's force sensitive on her own.
Yes.
Agreed.
And the problem
Okay,
was
yes.
with Ryan Johnson is because he is a Star Wars fan. He is. He likes the deep lore. He reads the books. That's the thing about Ryan Johnson is he is a Star Wars fan and he loves it so much that he decided to take the audience way too deep into it. And that's
May I
where
pause you?
that flaw was.
So there's no balance. It was like way too
It was
surface
Okay,
level,
yes.
way too deep. And then episode
Exactly.
9, where do we go?
Exactly. Because Ryan Johnson was upset by what J.J. Abrams had left him in 7
Mhm.
because there wasn't a lot of substance and there wasn't a lot of places to go. We have, oh no, there's new planet killer.
Okay, I agree that there wasn't a lot of substance,
Mhm.
but there was
and so
a
he went
million
too far the
directions to
opposite
go.
way.
Yeah,
No,
he
there
just
wasn't,
he
Jack! There was
overcompensated.
not! He overcompensated because again, J.J. Abrams left all these stupid hints for plot lines that he had no idea where they were going, and he didn't. That's a fact.
It's
He
like
had no
now
idea
you
where they
have
were
to
going
just
when the
figure
movie
them
came
all
out.
out.
Yes,
some
and so Ryan
reason.
Johnson
Today-
did.
today-
He's like,
It's like
Ryan,
if
not
Sherlock
canon for
Holmes
nobody.
never solved any mysteries, he just looked at all the clues and was like, "Damn, that's crazy," and walked away.
I
And
said
then
I was
you,
ready to
Literally.
argue. I said I was ready to argue, and here I am. We're not even arguing about Solo, but I am ready to argue.
go
You
for
are
it.
living your day today, and you are doing whatever you're doing. And tomorrow, some problem.
You're gonna do
But,
the
like,
same
you didn't
damn thing
think was a
again.
problem. No, not yet. I'm okay. Listen, we're on episode 7 here. Today is episode 7. Tomorrow is episode 8. Okay, and you could take what you had from episode 7 and improve where you failed yesterday.
You could,
Or
but
you
here's the
don't.
thing. No, here's the thing.
Your jackass
If
was piloting your
somebody-
life yesterday.
If somebody else is living today and then you have to pick up their life tomorrow, you don't know what to do. They didn't give you any clues. They just were living and you were living and then suddenly you were thrown. It's like a
and
Freaky
you have
Friday
to figure it
situation,
out.
but with somebody that you don't even know and you just have to figure it out.
Because there was no greater oversight. None.
They
It's
didn't
not
have
one
a
person living
plan.
life day to day. It's 3 different people. I'm counting JJ as 2 different people here because he did
Basically.
just such a shit job.
Basically.
It's JJ1 and JJ3. Oh my gosh. Who keeps giving him movies?
Not
I
me.
love the
JJ1,
Star Trek
Ryan
movies.
Johnson,
Anyways.
JJ3. They did horrible because
Star Trek
they
ones were
all
great.
three hated each other.
But he shouldn't have done Star Wars just because he did Star Trek.
yes,
100,000% agreed.
yes, because he set himself and Ryan Johnson up for failure. If they were gonna have him do a movie,
Okay.
he should have just had him do all three movies, or
Mhm.
have someone be the creative director and plan a
Who
story
can
ahead of
oversee
time.
all three movies and they have
were just-
a congruent story.
This
Playing it by the seat of their
is not
pants.
Ryan Johnson's fault or J.J. Abrams. This is Disney's fault for fucking splitting it up between three different guys.
There
Actually,
we go.
You're so
different
correct.
guys.
That's
Why are
what
we-
we've
why are
been
we pitching two bad
saying.
bitches against each other when we should be going for the throat of the bitch who put us all in this mess?
Exactly. Jack, you hit the nail on the head. That's
There
what we've
we
been
go.
saying.
So
All right.
We're
okay,
splitting
but
hairs
let's-
like, what kind of ball did J.J. Abrams throw and why did Ryan Johnson catch a different one?
Because
It's because of
Disney
Disney.
threw
You're
them a
so
grenade.
right.
Okay.
I also, Jack, just to be clear, I'm not saying that 8 was a good movie. I just I want that on the record.
I
None
understand.
None of them
you.
are.
I know.
They all fumbled.
I think that
We
all three
said
of them
that at
are
the very
bad.
beginning.
Yeah.
We all said that at the very beginning. Those
Yeah.
three are all like bad.
They're
from what they
all
could have been.
very rough.
We're all
I
on the
just think
same
that
page that they were rough
Yes.
drafts and they should not have been released until
Yeah,
a couple
Yes.
more.
8 had a
run-throughs.
lot
Yeah.
of problems.
Yeah,
A lot. Yeah.
like
But
a
Okay.
lot.
Okay.
yeah.
So, but
yeah,
I think
yeah.
to bring us back to what we were originally disagreeing about,
Solo.
Solo versus 8.
Originally disagreeing
I still
about
think Solo is better than 8 or 9.
as
Um,
a story or as a Star Wars story.
Both.
I think it's definitely better than 9 because it doesn't have the line somehow Palpatine
Somehow
returned.
Palpatine returned, and you can see Oscar Isaac like physically holding himself back
Like,
from throwing up.
Yeah.
Like
And I
he's,
think
Yeah.
he's gonna kill himself.
Poor Finn.
You can tell. These
I think
poor
it's-
guys, like, imagine being like a young up and coming actor. You get cast in Star Wars, the movie of all time. And you're so excited, and then they make you say, somehow Palpatine returned, instead of coming up with a new bad guy. I throw myself off a bridge.
Colin
Somehow,
McRae, she's
somehow
feeling suicidal.
Palpatine returned? Like, they don't even know.
They
They're
don't
like,
even have a
they're not even
reason.
gonna bother explaining how it happened. They're just like, I'm out of ideas. Let's bring in an old bad guy. Let's bring the Senate back. And nobody knows why. Not even the writers.
The Senate. The Senate. Anyways,
Like, why
sorry,
would
thank
they
you for
do
the-
that for
thank you
real?
for the meme. I appreciate that.
Anytime.
I do think it's better than 9 for that reason, and I think it's better than 8 because it didn't make Luke Skywalker mean. He's
Yeah,
not.
what was that?
That's
The thing is,
the biggest thing that
It's
8 did wrong,
another
and that breaks
erasure
my
of
heart.
character, right? That he, in
Yeah.
the originals, never give up, never surrender. So now why is he hiding on an island drinking blue milk when that's what he ran away from in episode 4? That was
That's what I
his
was
whole
saying
thing.
earlier,
He
like,
wanted a
they
bigger life. He
destroyed
wanted
his
to be
whole-
part of something. They totally destroy his character, making
Yeah.
him a
His whole
hermit,
character.
but he was always going to be involved in the revolution.
Yeah,
Mark
and this is
Hamill
what I'm
must
saying.
have had to like made millions off of those like 2 seconds.
Oh, definitely, because he's the actor of all time.
Yeah.
But like, poor guys
Yeah.
have to
This
come
is what
back
I'm
to
Oh my
saying.
god.
the movie that made you and be like, oh, I'm like
Ow.
not even. I
Ugh.
don't have scenes with like any of the other rebellion fighters. Like I'm
And
just
this
by
is-
myself.
This is part of the problem with what 7 did, is because J.J. Abrams in 7, or Disney, or whoever like whatever happened, whoever is in charge of that,
Satan.
7, Satan's asshole, set them up in 7 with Luke is missing, and we don't know where he is, but he's disappeared, and he did it on purpose, and he left a map for where he is.
I know,
That
and
was
it's so
the
stupid.
setup. That was the setup, was that he left, and he left on purpose.
If he
So
wouldn't
where were
have
they supposed to go?
He wouldn't have left on purpose, and also if he was really missing and didn't want anyone to find him, why
He
would he
wouldn't have
make a
left
damn map?
Okay, so
Hello?
those
If
three
Luke was
are all
missing,
worse-
it's like he's
those
been
three
kidnapped
Are all worse than Solo.
because they
yeah.
destroyed Luke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is worse than destroying Han. Yeah.
At least, yeah.
I
at
mean,
least
Luke
with
is the
Solo,
main character. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, technically,
true.
but
I'm just
That's-
saying, like, I think Disney has
hot.
just fumbled the ball all over the place.
They
Yeah.
have been doing that for
It's
a
true.
decade.
It's because their whole thing is like making money instead of making movies, even though they're a movie company. So that's like
This is why I will
Stuff
never
with that.
watch another one of their live actions again.
Preach.
Mhm.
Amen.
Worst
Amen.
movies I've ever seen. I watched Aladdin and Lion King, and I was like, I'm not doing this again. I can't.
Did you
This
watch
hurt.
live action Mulan?
No, I said
Okay.
those were the two I watched,
Yeah.
and I was done.
Okay, yeah, because
Smart.
if you got to Lion King and thought this is as bad as it's gonna get, no. It
Nope.
can get worse, Jack. You avoided this is like those people on 9/11 who canceled their flights or who missed their flights. It got worse. Okay.
It got worse.
That's a fantastic conspiracy theory. Bush did not do 9/11 because Disney
Walt
did.
Disney did 9/11.
His cryogenically frozen head is just rolling around in a robot like in Fallout.
And they don't want you to know
Ooh.
that because it's true. We're all gonna get sniped
Disney
tomorrow.
Can suck my dick and
Tomorrow.
balls. I almost said that at work today, by the way. That was a close one.
You almost
My
said
boss-
suck my dick and balls at work.
I did. I was in a really bad mood. I got like 2 hours of
Were you
sleep
thinking
last
about
night.
Solo or something?
Yes, because we had to talk about it today. But it wasn't
And
just
Olivia's
that.
over here like, I haven't watched it in like 6 years.
Yeah, I'm like, why would I? I remember not liking it. So,
Yeah.
you know.
I figured
Fucking-
we had to have someone who had watched the movie and then someone who had a medium knowledge of the movie, and then Olivia could be there too.
Yeah, and that was smart. That's what we usually do, actually.
I think we should have an episode 2, and we should all have watched it together.
That's okay. We don't have to do that.
Yeah, we can
all
watch Ega
Rogue One
instead.
together. Or we can
Okay.
watch Ega.
Yeah.
Okay.
Double feature.
Both.
Next time you
Yeah,
guys have
both.
5 straight hours available, we can double feature Ega and Rogue One. Rogue One and then Ega, so we end on a funnier note.
Not Rogue One or Solo?
Rogue One.
Rogue One.
Well, okay,
'Cause
we
it's
are- we're
worth
all in
watching again.
agreement. Yes, but that's what I'm saying. I think Solo is worth watching again. I
I
still
watched half
stand
of
by
it
that.
today.
Yeah, you can just watch the other half if you want to.
The thing is, Jack, if I watch it with no Star Wars, even with no Solo context, if I watch it without like pretending this is not Han Solo, the guy I
Mhm.
love, then it's fine. I
It's
actually
just some
really,
other guy.
again, I
It's
really
fun.
liked a good chunk of it.
As a movie,
It's
it's
just-
fun. As a Star Wars movie about Han Solo specifically,
I love him
betrayal.
so much. I love Han Solo with everything that I have in my tiny little body. It's not tiny. I don't know why I said that.
Right size. Just the right size for my tiny body.
For my tiny little body.
Okay, new proposal. Together, we watch the original trilogy.
Okay. Is that
Then
it?
we discuss Solo.
Or
And
we
hopefully
could
we'll watch
discuss
that too before we
The original
discuss it.
trilogy too.
Yeah.
Or we
We
can
can
do the
too.
prequels also.
No. That's
Oh,
You'll
that's an entire
watch
can of worms on
Solo
its own.
again and you won't watch the
what's
prequel?
happening? I
Okay,
feel
I'm
like
gonna
Solo-
hang up.
Okay, listen.
I'm
Listen,
ending this for
Solo
everybody.
is in the prequels. Solo is in Solo. Solo is in the original. Solo is not in the prequels. Solo is in Solo.
Oh, I see. You're
Right?
saying we should have a Han Solo centered rewatch.
Yes.
But
yes,
I'm
I am.
saying the
I get
prequels
it.
are not that bad. So that's
I
where we
agree.
had a disconnect. I was like,
Yes,
No!
yes,
I see.
I agree. The prequels are
Wow.
not that bad. They
That-
produced a lot of memes, and for
that was
that,
really
they're
scary.
worth gold.
true.
That's true. And
Yeah.
also the sword fight in Revenge of the Sith is genuinely so good.
It's really good.
This is so good. Everything's fine.
It's funny how every single thing that we say, we're agreeing with one another, but we're doing so like furiously.
It's because we're trying to understand each other's nuance because we're all passionate about this, even though we won't admit it.
We're trying to talk over each other.
But we're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what this happened to me at work today. I said, oh, I don't know, probably 30% of this other thing. And Jen said, no, about 70% of thing. And I was like, no, you're wrong and stupid. And she was like, no, you're wrong and stupid. This was all in front of people who were visiting for a meeting. It was very professional.
Awesome.
And then at the end of it, I was like, wait, Jen, did you mean 30% of, or did you mean 70% of thing is in the other 70% of my 30%? And she's like, yeah, we were talking about the same thing,
Right.
just the different section of the statistic.
Right.
And we got into a
Yes.
huge argument in front of people over this thing.
You're
And we
like,
only resolved it after they left, where we were like, oh, well, now they probably think we're really stupid. This is the same thing. I think this might be my fault. I might just be bringing this vibe around.
you
with
have
me
a weird
today.
energy.
I do. Yeah.
Well, okay, I don't think it's entirely Whitney's fault because I came here
No,
today
me
and I
neither.
was like, "This is a great movie," and today I'm like, "Okay, it's a good movie. It's not a great movie."
Yeah.
Like at
Yeah,
the end of this
I-
conversation, you know what I mean? You definitely proved a
Mhm.
point here, whereas you and Jen were agreeing. Me and you were disagreeing, and now
Yeah.
we agree.
Oh yeah. And
Epic
that's
handshake
growth.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I do like there were a lot of things that I had a lot of fun with. Again, Lando,
The only
can
good
Donald
thing
Glover
about the
do
movie.
no wrong? And Woody Harrelson is in
Apparently.
it. I had forgotten about that. I love him. I love him
This
so
is why-
much.
I think you guys will love the movie a little bit more if we watch it again. I still think that.
See, and this is the other problem is because I love Han Solo so much, and I love Harrison Ford so much, and I don't know the name of the man that they cast as Solo.
Oh, he doesn't
Me
matter
I
to
either.
don't
me at
know.
all.
I spent the whole movie wondering.
Yeah, he's a stranger to me.
It doesn't look like him. He doesn't sound like him. He doesn't act like him. I
Mhm.
don't know who that
He
man
does.
is.
What the hell is? Ooh, y'all are really testing me on some stuff that I hate to say it. I hope I don't sound ridiculous. I don't know who this man is.
And that's
he
why
does a good job of acting like him, but nothing
that's
else.
why it would be so much easier to just make this a story about somebody else.
Oh, anyone else?
Just give
Yeah.
him a new name.
Yes.
You could keep the entire thing, just give him a different name.
Maybe.
Star Wars, another rebel.
Exactly.
Sure.
Why not? Because it's the Drew Gooden principle that Whitney and I talk about, where Star Wars, when you're expanding on the Star Wars universe, it's best to explore the universe with new characters instead of
so
exploring
big.
the same characters over and over. Right? Like there's so
Okay.
much out there and it's so much more interesting to see new people in a familiar setting instead of seeing the
Mhm.
same old people doing the same things over and over again.
That's why The Mandalorian started out so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Is because
Yes.
ooh,
Yes.
who is this guy? And Baby Yoda, very fun. And then when Mandalorian started going downhill was when they started bringing in all the other Star Wars characters that are always in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we just let this man try to find a daycare for his kid? You know,
Yeah.
like that should just be.
That's entertaining enough. We don't need all these other
Everyone loved
people.
it.
We've seen them before. Yeah, people liked
Yeah.
Mandalorian before the season where they brought everybody
Way
in.
before. Exactly. And now no one likes it anymore. I wonder why. I think you could have cast a different person to be Solo,
A different
and
character.
it would have,
Oh,
or a
Yeah.
different character. Like if you're gonna make the movie, okay, if it has to be Solo, then you should have cast somebody different. But ideally, just made it a different movie. But if you
Mhm.
had to, then I think that was part of the problem with me is because I just don't know that man. Apologies
Mhm.
to this man.
I mean, he could be walking down the street. I wouldn't know a thing. Sorry to this man.
You know.
Yeah.
I think he did a good job for what he was handed.
Yeah,
Valid.
but that's all you can say about like aside from like Rogue One, any of the new movies. It's like, well, they did their best. You know?
You make a really
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
You make
Yeah,
a really good
and
point
that's
there.
just sad.
Like the actors are just hired to act and they don't write the characters, they don't write the stories. So it's like
the biggest faults in this. I'm gonna write it down on my big piece of paper here, and you're probably not gonna be able to even see it. It's gonna be backwards
Oh.
because cameras.
Oh
but,
no, it's forwards.
Money.
Disney.
Oh,
Disney.
Same
Disney is to
thing.
blame.
Solo is
Mid.
not as bad as I went into this conversation. I think I'm willing to compromise with you, Jack, at about a 35. I'll go up to 35.
I will go
He
down
gives
to
you
about a 63.
77, and you say, I'll go 35. And that's the highest.
Okay,
See,
what was
I
your
think-
remember your original score? What was it?
20.
20.
Okay, okay, I accept that.
Yeah, and I think if it had not been a Star Wars movie, or if even if it just hadn't been a solo movie, I'd agree with you about a 77 or an 80.
Mhm.
Because again,
'Cause it's
I
fun.
liked a lot of it. It's just the
Who
fact that
doesn't
they
like?
made it. They tried to make it him,
Yeah.
and
Okay,
he's
so
precious
we
to me.
watched this movie again. I just watched it because I didn't know we were talking about the character. I was just like, movie. Wow, that was fun. Like,
Yeah, but then see that's
like,
that's like summing up the whole point. If you're just watching movie, it's fine. But if you're
It's fine.
watching movie
and
about
that's
Han Solo, right?
and that's the person I am, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't go into movies like thinking about like everything going bad. I'm like, did I enjoy this movie or did I not? But like when it's
Mhm.
part two of a movie, then I will think about the series. Whereas this
Mhm.
was not necessarily part
Mhm.
two, it was like a
It's
character
a Star
story.
Wars
And like
story
it
separately.
still
Okay.
fits within Han Solo, but like again, they dropped the ball because it's Disney. So
Yeah.
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 True.
And I don't ever. This always bothers me too when people like, because I like a lot of really dumb movies
Yeah.
just for fun a lot of the time. Like I don't want to be the person who shits on somebody else for liking a movie that they like. I don't ever want to do that. Just personally with Solo, those are the problems that I had with it just because I do like the character Han Solo so much and I personally felt like it could have been done better. But like it's a fun movie and if you enjoy like I don't ever want to make someone feel stupid for liking a movie. That's
Mhm.
dumb
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
rude. I don't want to be that person.
It's mean.
It's
Do you want to be
mean.
mean?
No, I don't
Yeah.
ever.
And I think you really like you hit it when you said like you don't have to because of course you don't have to literally always be thinking about like the metaphysical implications of movie, you know.
Yeah.
It's like if you're having a fun time, at the end of the day, the most important thing about a movie is did I like it or did I not like it? So that's like
Yep.
totally fair. If you watch the movie and you liked it, then that's like it's fine. You know?
And that's how I came into this conversation. I was like, it definitely was not anywhere near my favorite movie ever.
Yeah.
But like I enjoyed it thoroughly.
It's fine.
But like now that I think about the nuance of it, I'm like, because that's what you guys brought to me. I'm like, yeah, no, it definitely didn't do anywhere like justice.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know what?
I can
I will give it a 60, a solid like 59, 61,
Fine.
There
somewhere
you
in that
go.
range.
No, get out of there.
I
You
think
don't
that's a
need to
good
be in there.
number.
But
He keeps trying to
as a
climb in the
movie,
pot.
if I was a movie critic, as someone who doesn't watch a lot of movies, I would give it more like 67.
Yeah, I think the flaws it had nothing to do with it being a movie, just with the thing that it had to be attached to. You could tell
Right.
there was a lot of talent behind it,
Yep.
and that's where
Okay.
it's because again, Disney is the problem. They tried to
Yeah.
shoehorn in all these things to make the audience go, like, you know, this guy.
Yeah, remember?
Everybody
That's the
likes.
character's lore. That's all of it, all in one go. Yeah.
Yeah, you're
I,
like,
I like
okay.
how we came to this discussion, and then like at the end, like the one point we all agree on is like, fuck Disney.
Yeah.
Amen. And that will be a hill I die on.
That's the point that we get to anytime we talk about a
Every
movie that's
single
affiliated
time.
with Disney.
Hey Jack, I have a question for you. Would you
Yes.
ever want to watch a movie that I like that no one else in the world
I
liked?
knew you were gonna bring this up.
Okay, Olivia, be quiet. Whitney, one more time.
Never heard you sound like that, Olivia. Okay, it's a movie about gay cannibals. It's from the 90s,
Is that it?
and it's
Yeah.
it's set in the Mexican American War, and that's it. Yeah, it's gay
I'll
cannibals.
try anything once. I will try anything once. I stand by that. Olivia,
Fantastic. We can all watch that together too.
Yay! It's
Jack,
funny
I
because
do have to be
earlier
honest with you.
when you said I like a lot of movies because they're not good, but I like them. I was like, she's gonna mention Ravenous. She's gonna bring it up.
I could see it in your eyes, and then the subject changed, and I could see the hope.
Listen.
I guarantee you, as long as it's an entertaining movie, I will enjoy it.
It's
Like that's
actually-
all
It
I'm gonna
is.
say.
It's
It's-
honestly, I think Whitney says that everyone that she showed it to, except for me, didn't like it. But I liked it just fine. I think it's fun.
It's just that she didn't like it nowhere near the amount that I liked it.
No,
This is not a
'Cause I-
healthy.
I think about
amount.
other things.
You think about other things. Yeah, no, I discovered this movie in December of last year, and that's been about my thought process since then. It's just this stupid, dumbass movie from the 90s. However, I do think everybody should watch it once, and so I
Mhm.
recommend it. If we're throwing out bad movies that we enjoyed, That's
Mhm.
one. And I will say also,
Okay,
I don't think
okay.
it's a bad movie. I think it's a really good movie, very well done. I just think that it was not very well received because of the subject material. Because it
Yeah.
is a little, it's pretty gory.
And I think
Like, it's not
it's
for
a good
everybody. It's an
movie.
acquired taste.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, but it's doing what it set out to do, and it's
Yes.
doing it successfully. Like I think it's just not
Okay, have you
everybody's
guys
thing, but it's not bad.
have you guys watched Scott Pilgrim?
Yes.
Yeah, I liked it. Oh wait,
Okay, good.
Well,
stop!
Okay,
You're driving
thank
me
God.
crazy.
That's like one of my all-time favorites. No, I just make sure.
Like,
I
oh,
watched it for the first time this year.
fun.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yay.
I was kind of surprised that it has like that I haven't seen it before. Really
Mhm.
liked it. It was so
Yeah.
fun.
It's one of those like The Secret of Nim for me, where I just like have lived my whole life being the kind of person who would have really liked that movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, I just would have liked that movie by default. So anyway, I saw that one and I was like, this movie is goated for me.
Yeah. No,
Next
it's
time you
good.
guest star,
I
if you
think,
want to talk about that one,
talk Scott
and that way we
Pilgrim.
don't have to
That's
argue about
one
it.
that we're happy to rewatch. We
Yes,
won't get mad at
okay.
you if you suggest that we watch it.
Okay.
Can I just say also, it feels really good to disagree with somebody about something like a movie and
Yeah.
not hear someone say like, "Oh, I don't think immigrants should have rights," and have to be like, "Great, thank you."
Yeah,
You know?
like it's fun to disagree about something arbitrary instead of having like actual moral standing in whatever you have to talk about.
yeah, or have my job on the line. You know, it's
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah,
Sounds like you guys have had rougher episodes on your podcast.
dude, you have no idea. Olivia's editing skills really come in handy because I'll watch through an episode again and I'll be like, "Wow, we look really like the mood is totally different here."
We look
because
really
she's
put together.
snipped out all of the parts where I'm in tears. So
Oh my
upset.
gosh.
Yeah.
What I think
That's
is funny is
funny.
like when I think of your coworker Josh, the thing that you publicly like that we've posted, the thing that you've hated the most about him is that he'll mix chocolate and fruit flavors in his froyo. But so
Yeah, which
people
I
might
still think is insane,
Okay.
by the way.
but people might think you have beef with him for only that reason, when really you have beef with him for literally all of his ideology, like every single thing about him.
everything else.
It's like he's like, I
Yeah.
don't believe in rights. I don't believe in education.
Yeah, only
It
females
sounds like you
eat
have some
salad.
really good coworkers, Whitney.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're a treat.
Oh, by wit.
Well, do you have anything else to say about Solo or about Star Wars in general?
No, in particular, no. I think we just need to have another discussion. That's what I've come to the conclusion of.
Yeah, yeah. About Scott Pilgrim
Yeah.
or about Star Wars again?
Both.
Okay.
Like I said, I think we need to watch the original 3 movies
Mhm.
and then watch that one again after we watch the original 3, and then go into the discussion again.
Uh-huh. When
And
we're
then I
all
also think-
fresh on every
All
movie that
fresh.
he's in.
Yep, exactly. Except for the new ones, because those don't count.
Right. They're gonna wreck his character again in that one anyway, so it's whatever.
Yep, yeah. So, again, well, thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, that was a delight.
Yeah, so fun. And tell your cats they're famous now.
I'll tell Whitney thank you for me and that I had a great time.
Will do.